Okay, so Dr. Lu, what is your great unlearning?
That's a very interesting question because life is so fast paced. We don't even get time to sit down and actually think about the things that you've actually unlearned. But for me, I would say the greatest unlearning has been getting rid of self-doubt and being an imposter as well.
Oh, I love that. Sounds like it's going to be an absolutely amazing episode. And let's get into today's episode of the Unlearners podcast.
The Unlearners. Learn, change, the
Unlearn. I think if you take one courageous step at a time, it's going to be such the Unlearn. Learn, change, grow. Hi there, Unlearners. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of the Unlearners podcast. It's amazing to have you in this conversation because I am sitting with someone that I'm so excited to chat to because firstly, I mean, who wouldn't be? She is someone who inspires me so much. And the way that we met was so weird, but I think from then on, I just knew that she was someone I wanted to follow, someone I wanted to learn from, but also someone who was doing some amazing work in her space. So this conversation is really going to be touching maybe a little bit on some of the stuff she's doing in her business, how she's growing, but more especially personally, what she's unlearning, but also how she's become the version of herself that she is today. The one that so many people look on social media and go, oh my goodness, how did she get to be this person? So you're going to get to have all of the tea today and really get it all spilled. I'm talking about none other than Dr. Lungile Mhlongo. Dr. Lu, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Zanele.
Oh, I love it. I can't wait to get into this. So I want you to just really feel free to have as much of an open conversation today because the journey of unlearning, I know already from our conversations, is something that's close to your heart. The idea that we're always reinventing who we are and how it's so important for us to let go of some of those ideas and mindsets that we tell ourselves sometimes that are a big part of who we are. But then over time we realize, no, actually this is not quite me. So let's go back. Let's go right to the beginning. Tell me a little bit about who you were before you had your great unlearning.
Well, like you said, I was just a little girl named Lungile Mhlongo from Gondolosi. Growing up in an area that is in the rural areas, it's so difficult to find identity because you're just getting to be like other kids as much as you're dreaming, but you're not exposed to what you actually could be. So that I started becoming a person that is worried about what people are going to say, looking for validation in anything that I do. I needed to do it within the limits of where I grew up. So I became an imposter before that, where I had the worst imposter syndrome. I felt like I wasn't good enough. I always had fear of failing. Like, I have this great idea and I want to do it, but I'm scared that I'm going to fail. So I've always been that person that's been so reserved, and I had built these walls around me, the walls of limitation that hindered me from actually growing.
Oh my goodness. You know, you said the word imposter and it resonates so closely with me because I feel that sometimes as well. Consistent. And you see, that's the thing. Excuse me. That's the thing about imposter syndrome, because initially when the research on it was done, it was actually found that powerful women in powerful positions that people looked up to were the ones who were victims of it. So you look at people like yourself and you go, but how? You're so amazing. Exactly. So tell me about how you are still doing, maybe with regards to imposter syndrome. Do you still have it visit you sometimes? Talk to me about that.
The thing is, now I'm more aware, and I still have it visit me every once in a while. But now I know what it is. Yes. It's almost like a human being that you know when it walks into the room, and then I try to fight it with positivity.
And do you find that that works for you?
It works 100%. What I use is what it did, the damage it did for me in the past. I remember that. I'm like, I'm not heading that direction again. I'm just gonna let it go and then just push through.
And by the damage it did in the past, you mean all of those opportunities that you didn't take?
Yeah. Millions of missed opportunities.
Really? Any key ones that come to mind?
I can't think of just one now. But I know I missed a lot of opportunities because I felt like I wasn't good enough. You know, when you get into rooms where you could have been somewhere else, but I'm not regretting those times now because everything happens for a reason. Maybe that's not where my destiny was going at the time, but it did hinder me a bit. I could have learned something from that back then, but I still did learn to let go of being an imposter.
Yes, which is so powerful. So let's talk about that then. How did it come about? Because the journey of unlearning almost people-pleasing or 100%. Fitting into the box of what people are supposed to think about who you're supposed to be is really hard. And I think if we're being really honest, it's extremely, extremely challenging. So talk me through the journey of how you got to a place where firstly you got the self-awareness, but then you were like, you know what, it's time to let this thing go.
Yep. My issue was, I've always known I was destined for greatness. Ooh. Funny enough, is I come from a family of 10.
Okay.
I just knew, man, there was something special about me. I just knew I was destined for greatness, but I didn't know how to tap into it. I've always tried to camouflage myself to looking and thinking like everyone around me, even when I got to varsity, and that really crippled me a lot because I just wanted to be like everyone else. I started doing things that people were doing in varsity until I realized that what worked for me is that I didn't come from a family that had it. So that's how I realized that I was different from everyone else. I didn't have groceries. I didn't have food at risk. So that's when I realized I'm not like everyone else. I need to make means to eat. I need to make means to buy clothes. So that's when the entrepreneurial spirit was born, where I had to do something to make money to buy food and to buy clothes. So that's when I realized I'm actually not the same as everyone. I actually have to work a bit harder to get things that people are getting from their families and everyone else, because I didn't have parents when I went to varsity. So for me, that helped me to actually push and realize that I'm not like everyone else. And my journey is different.
You just gave me goosebumps right at the beginning when you said that you just always knew. There was just always a knowing. Talk to me about that. It's funny because I recently had a conversation with someone who said that from the time I was a little girl, there was just always this thing that would visit me to say, no, when you're different, there's just something about you. Do you think that that's a common thing that people generally have? Or do you think that it's just maybe for a chosen few people? And also, what did it feel like to you? Just imagine taking 3 days away from the noise of everyday life and deadlines and just taking 3 glorious days in the mountains of the Drakensberg. Just you and your girls at the Champagne Sports Resort in the Drakensberg this November. Yes, from the 24th to the 26th of November, our 3-day transformation retreat, the UnLearning experience, is happening to support you as you change. So if you know you're someone who is getting ready to start 2024 strong, really want to take stock and to plan for an amazing year, then this is your opportunity to do that. Get your ticket now because we only got 80 tickets left and then they're all done. And our tickets include 3 different ticket levels. So you can choose the ticket type that is right for you and your people. Be sure to join us because not only is this a phenomenal transformation experience, but it's also made up of enticing masterclasses, really, really juicy and inspiring talks, along with networking opportunities and time for you to be with you alone so you can reflect. Be sure to get your ticket from theunlearners.com website and we will see you this November.
I think we all have it in us, but it's just that low voice that we shut all the time because we're scared people are going to say we're just big dreamers and people are going to shut it down. Which is always the case. You would share what you feel like no, you think too highly of yourself. Yes. Calm down. This is where we are. We're living in this thing. This is where we are. This is how things are done. Come back to reality. That's what they say. But the day I snapped out of that, it's when my life completely changed. I snapped out of being worried about what people are going to say. I snapped out of what I tell myself is how I overcome the fear of failure is I told myself that if you fail, you didn't really fail. You learned how not to do it, but you will find the right way to do it through failing. So you know never to do it this way. This is how you should do it. So that helps me even when that fear, that little thing comes and says, hey, what if it doesn't work out? If it doesn't work out, we'll learn how not to do it. So that's how it helps me. But knowing that you are great is one of the hardest things to have, because people are going to shut it down for sure. Why? Because they're not thinking like you. I'm different. I was just telling you off air that my second name is Favorite.
Yes.
And it used to embarrass me so much. But until I took it upon myself to say, if I walk into a room, I'm going to be everyone's favorite. It is now my affirmation.
Oh.
So
Love that.
it's been such a great one. It's been such a great one.
You are so amazing. Like, I can feel your energy from here. This is so amazing. You've literally just reminded me of something that happened to me. I was doing a study abroad somewhere across the globe, and my second name that I shared with you that also embarrasses me is Precious. So thank you. So they put this name on my student card. Now, everyone else at school had just their first name and their last name on their student card. And that was, but for me, it was Zanele Precious Jab. And I was like, but why? And so one day I got a chance to change my student card. And I was like, this time I just don't want the second name. And guess what? It came back and Precious was on there twice.
Wow.
Zanele Precious Jab.
Wow.
And on that day, I think to what you were saying, I just went, no, there's a message here. There's a message here that you are doubly precious. You are extremely precious. So it's just beautiful how you've taken that and you were able to shift it and to change it so that it works in your favor. So talk to me about who Lungile is today. I mean, the idea of having to work, not necessarily against, but to work outside of the box that people say, no, because you come from this area of the world, that's who you're supposed to be. Who is Lungile today, and how do you navigate the version of yourself that you've become?
I love the fact that you mentioned the box, because my life right now feels like I just broke out of a box. And the way it happened so fast that it was an immediate thing. It wasn't a process that the box is still being unwrapped or it's the unboxing. I just snapped out of the box. So who Lungile is now, I'm a medical doctor by profession. I am a founder and CEO of one of the fastest growing medical aesthetic practices, which is called Numa Medical Aesthetics. I'm also a founder of with Numa Medical Aesthetics, we offer non-surgical cosmetic medicine to help people look good and feel good as well, so that they present themselves better. With Numa Medical Aesthetics, then we gave birth to another little baby called NumaSKIN, where we formulate our own products to help our clients to feel good and to present themselves better. Because we've learned over the years of working in the cosmetic industry that there's a very great link with between our mental health and how we look. We've seen our clients, as they improve, their self-esteem and their confidence, it puffs up, and we love it. So that's essentially what we do.
Isn't that amazing, though? Okay. How there's a beautiful link there between who you were and what you found you had to unlearn to be this version, but also how you're helping other people. Do you find that you are actually facilitating the unlearning of so many people?
100%. And like I said, that it's moving so fast, we don't get a chance to actually sit and say, I'm actually playing a role in someone's life where they're able to do better at work, businesses, they present themselves better. Imagine someone like you on screen and you're not comfortable with how you feel. Then it's going to affect your whole destiny. So it's really incredible.
My goodness, the ripple effect is profound.
Amazing.
And like you said, your big unlearning is being able to take stock of that. And because everything is so fast-paced, not just going with the flow, but sometimes saying, oh my goodness, let me sit back and just look at everything that I've built and look at who I've become. So how do you do that today? How does Lungile take stock of the impact that she makes in people's lives, but also how you've grown and where you hope to go?
I used to be, so coming from not having it to just being comfortable, I just wanted to work as fast as I can. I wanted to get as much as I can in a short space of time. I compromised a lot of my rest as well at the time, until my body couldn't take it anymore. And then I was just a short incident. I was in a public space and then I fainted. From that point on, I realized that my body is as important as my success. There's no reason for me to be chasing after success if my body's not going to make it there.
Yeah.
So I started to take time off. Take time off where I'm alone, even if it means I'm alone at home. My doors are closed, my phone is off. I just sit down with a pen and paper and I write everything down that I've achieved and things that I have not achieved. And then I weigh them down. And most of the times it's always the things that I achieved that are greater than the things that I didn't achieve. And that gives me some sort of fulfillment where I'm like, okay, no, let me rest. And then we go back to the ones that didn't work out. How do we then fix them? And I do that so often now. There's one thing that I was taught as well after that incident, that I need to, every afternoon, I sit down with a gratitude journal and I write down everything that I'm grateful for that day. In the morning, we all have our to-do lists.
Yes.
And then in the evening, what that does to me, it's just so amazing. I take a pen, then I take out my to-do list. Even if I did 5 of 10, I just feel good because I feel like I did something. I lived a day with a purpose. And in my gratitude journal, I'm grateful for the breath of life. So we get to see that we are so privileged to be able to have another day to work. And then when I rest at night, I sleep as a winner. I'm like, at least I got 50% of my to-do list done.
Yes.
So very, very important to take care of your physical, emotional, and your physical, emotional, and intelligence as well. Yeah.
Oh.
Very, very important.
Oh, my goodness. These go by so quickly. I don't know if you guys realize this or if it's just me. These go by so quickly because we just start the conversation and then 2 seconds later, it's ending already. We are. We are done. It goes by so quickly, but thank you so much. I think maybe we can even close off on a few little nuggets, especially because your big unlearning is imposter syndrome.
Yes.
And that impacts so many people, and you've got to practice. It's funny because your gratitude practice is actually one of the things that have been proven to really support the unlearning maybe of imposter syndrome or the managing of imposter syndrome, because they found that you can't actually completely heal it, but you can manage it. 100%. And when you remind yourself that, come on, I'm good, I'm okay, it's such a beautiful practice. Do you have maybe a key message or maybe another practice that you would say to anyone who's listening or watching this, if they are trying to manage or unlearn their imposter syndrome, that they can take maybe courage from that message?
Mine would be to look at life. If you know me, you know I look at life from a gratitude point of view. Like I sit from the gratitude point of view and I look at everything that I'm grateful for instead of sitting and from a victim's point of view where I'm like, what could go wrong? What could go wrong? I always look for what could go right, what could go right. And I always affirm myself. I affirm myself a lot. I don't know how many times I tell people I'm smart. Because growing up, everyone used to tell me how dumb I was. And I used to take those words and those words became life. But now all I do is I tell myself how smart I am, how blessed I am, and how wise I am as well. So positive affirmations, because if you tell yourself how good you are, the world can come with all the negativity, but if it comes from you and you believe it first, that's what's going to take you further.
Mm-hmm. What she didn't mention, guys, is that she does that to other people as well. I'm going to tell on you now. Lu always used, every single time I came into her practice, because yes, I am Numified, but every single time that I would come into her practice, she would always say, hello, my genius. And I remember the one day I said to you, oh, no, I'm not. And you were like, no, you need to claim it. And I've never forgotten that. You probably don't even remember saying that, but the moment you said that to me, it was such a beautiful reminder that when we are able to claim who we want to be, then we move into it rather than moving back into what we're trying to unlearn. Yes. So thank you. I think I say this on behalf of so many of us and people who have experienced you and will experience you in the future. Thank you for being that person who challenges other people to change, to learn, and to grow.
Thank you. Thank you so much. The other part you didn't tell is that I didn't know that you're a genius. I just couldn't feel that you were just so weird. Yes. And you turned out to be one. Look at you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This beautiful gift here is for you to say thank you for gracing us with your presence and for doing the amazing work that you do. Continue to unlearn and to grow. We will stalk you and watch your journey and see how amazing you continue to be. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, guys, that's it for today's episode. I hope you really enjoyed this one. Make sure to follow Lungile Mhlongo and her journey. She is doing amazing things, but also I think there's so much you can learn from her unlearning journey that influences yours and how you continue to grow as well. It's been myself, Zanele Njapa, the Unlearning Lady, on today's episode of the Unlearners podcast. We'll see you next time. Bye.
The Unlearners. Learn, change,
Learn. I think if you take one courageous step at a time, it's going to be such the unlearn. Learn, change, grow.